India, a land of rivers and rhythms, of sages and scientists, of empires forged not just in steel, but in spirit. Long before the rise of Europe or the founding of Rome, Bharat had already composed hymns, mapped the stars, and debated the cosmos. She gave the world the concept of zero, the practice of yoga, and the wisdom of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is one family, but history didn't let her be. From the west, from the north, from across the seas, waves of invaders came. With swords, with ships, with flags, they looted temples, burned libraries, and ruled over her people. Yet she endured. But what if she had never been invaded? What if Bharat had risen uninterrupted? What would her science look like? Her cities? Her influence on the world? What if this ancient civilization had become the world's guiding light? Not just spiritually, but economically, politically, scientifically. Today, we step into an alternate timeline, a reimagining of a Bharat that remained whole, confident, and sovereign. This is not fantasy. This is the future that could have been, and perhaps the one still waiting to be written. India, the cradle of ancient wisdom, a land of vast empires and sacred traditions, a civilization that gifted the world the number zero, yoga, surgery, and some of the earliest centers of learning known to humankind. From the banks of the Saraswati to the peaks of the Himalayas, Bharat once pulsed with knowledge, wealth, and spiritual power. But history tells another tale, a tale of interruption, an invasion, Persians, Greeks, Hungarians, Mughals, British, each wave carving deep scars across the subcontinent, temples razed, libraries burned, languages buried, a nation fragmented. But what if it never happened? What if no foreign army ever crossed the Hindu Kush? No invader set foot on Indian soil? No forced trade? No colonial chains? What if India had never been invaded? Join us as we journey into an alternate past to imagine a Bharat that was never broken and perhaps forever golden. In this alternate timeline, Bharat does not fall. The Mauryan Empire, under the lineage of Ashoka, continues to thrive not just in power but in principle. Its vast bureaucracy evolves, binding regions with law, ethics, and learning. Emissaries from Kalinga to Kabul preach not war, but compassion. The Ashokan wheel keeps turning. Centuries later, the Gupta Empire does not fade quietly into history. It grows into a civilizational torchbearer, funding scholars, astronomers, playwrights, and artisans. Kalidasa becomes world-renowned. Aryabhata's theories inspire generations of scientists. Varanasi becomes the intellectual heart of Asia. And in the south, the mighty Cholas do more than rule. They navigate the seas not to plunder, but to connect. Indian ships sail to Java, Sumatra, even the East African coast, not as colonizers, but as cultural ambassadors. Across the oceans, Indian architecture, scripts, and philosophy take root. This is not a world where Indian history ends with ruins. It is a world where it builds, unbroken. Even in real history, India was once the richest economy in the world. In this alternate timeline, that dominance never fades. Indian ports, Lothal, Muziris, Kaveripattinam, become global trade hubs. Merchant guilds evolve into early stock exchanges. Indian textiles aren't just admired, they set global fashion trends. Steel from South India, known as woots, becomes the metal of kings. Indian bankers establish letters of credit and cross-border networks centuries ahead of Europe. Indian coins, stamped in gold and silver, circulate from Arabia to the Malay archipelago. And instead of colonial companies sailing east, it is Indian traders founding settlements on foreign shores. Gujarati merchant houses in Zanzibar, Tamil trading towns in Java, Buddhist guilds financing monastic networks across Central Asia. Bharat becomes the beating heart of the global economy, not dependent, not exploited, but leading. In this world, India's culture flows like an unbroken river. No temples are razed, no scriptures are lost in flames, no language is sidelined. Somnath, Nalanda, and Konark remain untouched, thriving across centuries. Bharatanatyam, Odissi, Kathak don't need to be revived. They evolve naturally, beautifully. Sanskrit remains a living, breathing language, not confined to rituals, but used in science, literature, and statecraft. Classical drama and epics grow into new forms, blending the sacred and the secular. Indian painting doesn't end with miniature scrolls. It blossoms into schools of realism, abstraction, even animation. Cuisine, clothing, music, all deepen through exchange, not colonization. Islam, Christianity, and Judaism still arrive, but through trade and dialogue, not war. They find space alongside Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and tribal faiths. The result? A civilization that is not frozen in time, but flowering through it. Karaka and Sushruta's medical treatises are not lost in war. They are translated, refined, and institutionalized. Ayurveda evolves side by side with anatomy, surgery, hygiene, and psychology. Ancient Indian metallurgy, already producing rust-free iron and legendary wood steel, advances into alloys, architecture, and early machinery. Engineers build stepwells, aqueducts, and earthquake-resistant temples. Textiles and dyes become scientific industries, feeding a booming global trade. Sanskrit becomes not just the language of prayer, but of physics, chemistry, and logic. Indian logic, Nyaya and Vaisheshika compete with and complement Greek philosophy and Chinese naturalism. Indian scholars publish treatises on light, sound, motion, and matter. They build observatories in Ujjain, Jaipur, and Kanchipuram. And with no colonial censorship, no cultural inferiority complex, young minds across Bharat grow up believing that the universe can be understood, that knowledge is sacred, and that science is sadhana, a path to the divine. In this world, India does not just contribute to science, it leads it. In this timeline, India does not conquer the world with armies. It shapes it with ideas. With its wealth preserved, its science advanced, and its spirit unbroken, Bharat rises not as an empire, but as a cultural superpower. Indian philosophies, Vedanta, Buddhism, Jainism, travel across Asia, but not through war, through wandering monks, teachers, and storytellers. In China, Buddhist universities quote Nalanda scholars. In Southeast Asia, Indian epics are performed in local tongues. The Ramayana is sung in Java. The Mahabharata is carved into the temples of Angkor. From Thailand to Korea, Indian symbols like the lotus, the chakra, and the Dharma wheel become universal icons. Indian architecture inspires pagodas. Indian music influences court traditions in Cambodia. Indian mathematics shapes Arab and European thinking. Indian medicine reaches Persia. And Indian stories, Panchtantra, Jataka, Kathasarit are retold in African and European folk tales. Even language travels. Sanskrit and Pali words enter Indonesian, Tagalog, Thai, and even Swahili. Bharat's soft power does not end at borders. Its diplomacy is subtle. Its ambassadors are scholars. Its armies rarely needed. This is a world where India is not a subject of others' maps, but a maker of maps, where Delhi and Madurai are as famous as Athens or Rome, where made in India means not factories, but philosophy, poetry, and peace. And so we arrive at the modern world. But this modern India It is nothing like the one we know. There was no colonization, no exploitation of resources, no artificial borders or famines engineered by foreign rulers. The Industrial Revolution does not pass India by. It begins here in its own rhythm, powered by indigenous innovation. Cotton mills run alongside temple towns. Steamships leave from ancient ports like Tamralipta and Bharuk. Trains cross the subcontinent not to export raw material to Europe, but to connect scholars, farmers, and artisans. Languages like Tamil, Kannada, and Sanskrit are digitized early. India develops its own computing codes, Lakshmi OS instead of Windows. Its films are not just Bollywood dreams, but philosophical epics watched across the world. Yoga becomes not a fitness fad, but a global way of life. Universities in Nalanda, Varanasi, and Sringeri are now global Ivy Leagues, offering degrees in artificial intelligence and Advaita Vedanta. Religion and reason are not enemies, they walk hand in hand. Caste is reformed from within, through debate and dharma, not foreign laws. Women, long respected in Indian philosophy as Shakti, now lead as scientists, sages, and stateswomen. No commonwealth, no broken identity, no lost centuries. India enters the 21st century not as a recovering nation, but as a torchbearer, a spiritual technological civilization, rooted in the Upanishads, coding in Sanskrit, designing satellites in Ujjain, a place where ancient chants echo in quantum labs, where progress means harmony, not just speed, a world not ruled by greed, but guided by Dharma. And so we look back at a world where India was never invaded, where its temples remained standing, its books never burned, its soul never fractured. What would that world have looked like? Perhaps we will never know. But this journey into an alternate timeline shows us something profound. A civilization does not thrive because of conquest. It thrives because of its people, its wisdom, its resilience, its capacity to adapt and grow. India's story is not just one of empires rising and falling. It is the story of a civilization that gave the world the zero, the decimal system, the concept of infinity. A land where science and spirituality coexisted as one. In a world where India was never invaded, it would not have been a place isolated from the world, but a place that shaped the world. With its wisdom, its culture, its contributions, it would have built bridges, not walls. A world where India remained the golden land, where Dharma, truth, justice, and righteousness was the foundation of all. And perhaps in that world, we all would have been a little more united, a little more whole. Thank you for watching this journey through an alternate history, a world where India remained untouched by foreign invasion. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Let us know in the comments what other what-if stories you'd like us to explore. Until next time, keep exploring, keep imagining, and remember, history is not just what happened, but what could have been.